Howdy, howdy, howdy. It's a Rodfather 916. We've all heard this saying, what goes around comes around. A lot of us say it sometimes in the moment, but we don't fully understand it. So I'm going to share a 3-part story that maybe will connect the dots. When I was young and moved away from home in college to go to the college in the Central Valley, I opened a checking account. To me, I was an adult. I could write a check, tear it off and hand it to somebody, and they would give me goods or sometimes money. Cool. And for years, I made sure that whatever check I wrote was covered by my bank. But somewhere in my 20s, I began to take risks. And we justify our bad behavior. All of us do. Even today, we can justify our bad behavior. So I would write a check here, knowing it was bad. But I didn't think much of it because within 2 weeks I made good of that check. So really and truly, you got your fees, you got your money. No one was harmed in the making of this writing of this check. And I did that for many years. I didn't mind paying the fees. Now, it's like cutting out my heart. Because I think what I paid in fees, both fees, because you pay a fee for the check, the bounce fee, and then you pay a fee to the company. I think I could have owned 2 or 3 cars, but a lot of us don't look at the big picture. I think as we grow older, we start looking at the big picture that I was paying hundreds of dollars, struggling in fees. Years later, nobody would take my checks. Other banks, when I try to open up a checking account, they look at that even though I've paid all the fees and I don't have an outstanding balance, the fact that I had written all these bad checks made them pause and say, no, thank you, but no, we don't want you as an account holder here. Of course, I thought that was unfair. Not like I'm a thief or professional bad check writer, which I was. I just thought the fact that I made good, that, what's the problem here? But there is a problem. Because you've made a promise. When you wrote that check out, you basically put your reputation online that says, I'm giving you something that's negotiable. You think they'd have taken it if they'd have known I only had $9 on an account? No. It's your reputation. So eventually nobody would take my checks, and worse still, nobody would accept the checks I wrote. My daughter couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 years old. We were in the Office Depot. I don't think she remembers this. And they wouldn't accept my check for a shredder or something for less than $30. And maybe because she was there, I don't know, but she looked at me as my Leo child did and says, I don't want to ever see your face like that again. My daughter was that bold. And over time, I got it. But the higher power and God wasn't done with me yet. I started a business. And I would take checks from clients. customers. And those checks would be bad. And I'd be pissed, like, what the? Write me a bad check. Have you lost your mind? This is how I pay my bills. Didn't make the connection. That's how I pay my bills. Well, maybe like me, they went, well, listen, I'll pay your fees. I'll just take care of you in a couple of weeks. Well, pretty soon, my vendors wouldn't take checks from me. Rodfather, Mr. Rodfather, you seem like a nice guy, but we want cash. We will not accept a check from you. Ever. One client wrote a check for me for $3,700. Someone reputable here in Sacramento wrote me a check for $3,700. Bounced. I couldn't make my payroll. Can you imagine not getting your check? You're writing somebody else to check your payroll, your team, the people you want there, and that check bounced. Or one immediately fired. She immediately quit and took me to court. Well, I got her money before that, but I also gave her an extra $200. People don't see that because it's other people's money. People think that banks and creditors, which I'll get into, are just entities. They can afford it. They can absorb the charges. Maybe. But they still want their money. And you promised them that you'd pay them. When you gave them that note, that was a promise. That was your signature on the line that said, this is good. I'm honoring my debt to you. Now imagine that coming to you as when I open my business. What comes around goes around. I didn't make that connection until recently. And it's been close to 20 years since I've had that business, that short-lived business. I opened credit accounts. At one point, I had so many credit cards. It didn't make sense, but it just seemed to be some prestige to have all these credit cards. I had Nordstrom's, American Express, no Target, no Sears. I had the big credit cards. I was a baller in my mind. Who couldn't pay my bills? And I would pay some credit cards with another credit card. You take your MasterCard to pay off your Nordstrom's, to pay off your exclusive men's shop, your Saks Fifth Avenue with, until there's no more money. And I got sued. I mean, they knew me to Superior Court on a first name basis. And I was in my late 20s, early 30s with an attitude saying, well, I tried to pay him, but they wouldn't take my money. And one of the judges said, did you send him $1? Do you know, Rodfather, if you'd sent them $5, you probably wouldn't be here. And I said, well, they wouldn't accept it. They wanted all his money. And I wouldn't, because I was giving him attitude, because when you're young, which gets you nowhere. And most of the credit cards that I owed wrote me off. They just said, you know what, he ain't never ever getting no money from us, never ever again. And everybody else did. So me getting a car loan at a good interest rate was not happening. Me applying for a house with minimum down payment wasn't going to happen. And I had bad credit for more than 20 years. I did eventually pay off some people. I took the judges. They did take $5. They would take $1. Thank you, Montgomery Wards and a few others. And I paid them off. And in my young mind, I said, well, see, I paid them off. So you should give me credit. No, credit is an extension of your reputation. If you haven't heard this before, you're hearing it from the Rodfather. You agreed by signing your name You're dating at the whole 9 yards, that you would pay X amount at a certain date. Well, you didn't do that. Even though you've paid everybody off, you now have a reputation of not honoring your word. But it's a business. Yes, and they want to stay in business. So now nobody wants to give you credit. I was pissed. Furious. I paid off these people. I made good on them. How come y'all not? Listen, all I need, just give me 500. No, nobody give me nothing. The first new car I bought, 21% interest. Do you know what that's like? That's like buying a full-size car and paying for an economy, buying a full-size car and paying for a subcompact at the same time. But you're only getting the full-size car because your interest is bad, because they don't want to take a risk for you. There's a lot of places that'll give subprime loans, meaning they'll only lend so much, but they'll charge you a lot of interest, so they'll cut their losses. And this affects a lot of Black and people of color who, for whatever reason, don't have sufficient credit or didn't make their, whether it's a utility bill, whether it's a $20 bill from Sears that you didn't pay, and said, this is your reputation. What comes around, you lied, you dishonored, you did not, you promised and you didn't deliver. And people are done with you. So when it comes to friendships, I heard this lady in a restaurant, young lady, she couldn't have been 25. She was on the phone, kind of upset that someone she known for a long time, but they're not really close, was in really financial problems, really financial straits. And she wanted to borrow a substantial sum from this. But she said she was raised by her grandmother. She kept saying that. And she says, my grandmother used to tell me, if your people won't lend you money and your friends won't lend you money, there's a reason. And you need to hold on to your money. Because if these people who love you, imagine your parents, your mother and father, your brother and sister, your auntie and uncle won't lend you money. These are people who love you the most, who will take more from you than a pedestrian person off the street won't lend you money. There's a reason there. So you need to hold on to your money. And it took me a long time, but that's how I live today. I give subprime loans. Here's $100. Let's see if I get this back. If I don't get this back, I'm fine. I'm not broken. It's not $5,000, not $10,000. It's $100. If I don't get it, it's cool. I'm not going to lose any sleep, but I won't forget, because people don't forget when it comes to money. You won't get any money from me. If someone online, I used to tell friends all the time, if somebody online asks me money, well, nobody will help them, so they're online from a complete stranger. If you want to donate your money, donate it to a charity in your community, because that's essentially what you're going to do. Because there's a reason why this person, either he's running the game, which is on the internet probably the case, or he's burned everybody he knows. And now it's his time. Because again, when it comes to coming around, you never know. It's always at a time that you're in need. It's never convenient. You know, what goes around comes around. Well, it's coming around, but it's not convenient now. You really need it. A tornado's hit your house. You have no furniture. You have no money, and you need a heater to warm your house. No credit's giving you money. Your friends won't give you money because of your reputation. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell. This is the Rod Father, wishing you love, joy, and happiness. Thank you very much for watching. Treat everybody nice, because you don't know who you might need in life. Rod Father out. Bye.